Here with you today. So this is the week that we are acknowledging and celebrating all that is public health, and nothing is more fitting than kicking off the celebration with this dedication. It has certainly been a time for public health in our city and across the nation, and I'm so thankful that we can be here together in person to celebrate. Much of this is due to the fact that we have public health. That we are here as public health, and through all the vaccines and COVID and testing and everything, you know, it has really allowed us to finally be back in person, and it's been a while. So I'm glad that we can be here. So Ron Arias served in Long Beach Health and Human Services Department from 1990 until 2013, for more than 12 years as the director of the department. I'll tell you that I am thankful for all of his work, because he handed this department off to me, and I inherited a fabulous department, so thank you. We're happy to have Ron here with us today, and we're going to hear from him in a few minutes. We're also joined by our Vice Mayor, Rex Richardson, our Public Works Director, Eric Lopez, our youth leader, Abraham Guadino Manzo, and our former Community Health Bureau Manager, Teresa Marino. Where is Teresa? I'd also like to recognize the many dignitaries who are here to support us. So first we have James Muda, who's representing Mayor Garcia's office. There's James. Council Member Roberto Uranga. Megan Kerr, our school board member. Our city manager, Tom Odica, and our deputy city manager, Teresa Chandler. Thank you. Our health officer, Dr. Davis. Wave to Dr. Davis. Our former police chief, Chief Robert Luna. Many members of our health board are here and joining us today. And we also have Erlinda Chico from Supervisor Hahn's office. And Brian Martinez, representing Assembly Member Mike Gibson's office. So to start with that, I'm going to actually call up Erlinda Chico. She has a county scroll that she would like to present.
Well, I was told we weren't speaking, but I'm just going to make it really quick. On behalf of Supervisor Janice Hahn, we can't tell you how thrilled we are to have this important health center named after such an important figure in health in Long Beach, after Ron Arias. You have contributed so much to Long Beach and around health equity, and just being a representation, Latino in this leadership role has been incredibly important as we progress towards health equity in brown and black communities throughout Long Beach. So thank you so much for your work.
And we also have Brian Martinez, representing Assemblymember Gibson's office.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Absolutely. So we just wanted to take a moment, of course, to recognize Mr. Arias on behalf of this incredible naming. So I wanted to read some words from the member. On behalf of the California State Assembly, Assembly District 64, congratulations on your absolutely well-deserved naming ceremony of this beautiful health center. Thank you for your decades of service to our city and continued health equity efforts in the community. Your legacy is absolutely inspiring, and we thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
I'd also like to acknowledge the Houghton Park Neighborhood Association, so thank you for all of you for coming out and to support our work. So to begin with, I'd like to welcome Edgar Perez. He's the Cultural Resources Monitor and Tribal Historian for the Gabriela Tonga Nation. As many of you know, most of Long Beach, including where we stand now, was once Tonga land. We're honored to have Mr. Perez here to provide the land acknowledgement. Mr. Perez.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me, and nice to see all of you. The land acknowledgement statements pay tribute to the Native people who lived here and who survived the many centuries of different governments, Spanish, Mexican, and American institutions. And it's important to provide that kind of tribute to the Tongva people because the statement is important because it reminds us and myself and our tribe that we were here and we still are here and we contribute to this land. Thank you. The statement is also important because it becomes stronger and more meaningful when they are connected to services, to communities like yourselves. It keeps us present. It keeps us alive. It's not just history. It's not just a legacy. And I'm honored to be here today, to be able to, actually, it's a first for me because we haven't been asked to do this. We've been asked by other institutions to contribute to a statement. And those statements are becoming more common now, especially at the university levels, colleges, and now, thanks to all of you and to the Health Services Department, it's growing, and that's part of the statement. That's why it makes it important, because we're still connected. Even though the land keeps us connected, for today we are still connected also. I usually speak at the various schools and universities and community outreach agencies, and especially at the fourth grade level. I have had the chance to speak to a lot of fourth graders. And so it's been a special treat for me to be able to do this. And sometimes it's heartbreaking, the kind of work that I do in monitoring sites in Long Beach and other areas where there are burials that are disturbed, and we have to rebury our people. But sometimes it's comical when I speak to the fourth graders. I was at a school recently, and after the class, one of the students says, "Mr. Perez, you don't look like an Indian." And I says, "Well, about 300 years ago, people looked differently." And her reply was, "Are you that old?" So yes, I am. We're still here. So it's an honor for me to read this statement. It's a first for our nation, for the Tongva people, to read this to you. The City of Long Beach Department of Health and Human Services acknowledges the Tongva Nation, whose ancestors were caretakers of this land, called Tovana, Awangna, and Povugna. Their religious and ceremonial center and trade network was revered. They worked the vast cattle range and sheep pasture. Their spirit echoes in the walls of old adobe ranchos. The Arias Health Equity Center is grateful and honored to serve those present and emerging. Thank you.
Thank you for those moving words, and I encourage all of us to keep Mr. Perez's words in mind as we think about health equity and what it means of service to every person in our community. So with that, I'd like to welcome up next Vice Mayor Rex Richardson, who serves on our City Council representing District 9 in North Long Beach. He's been a large supporter of public health, and he really has a strong vision for this city and for this, for this park. Thank you.
Well, let's hear it for Kelly Colopy and all the health department folks that are here this morning. I had some talking points somewhere. I don't know where they are, so I think I'm going to wing it this morning. So, first of all, welcome to my neighborhood. It's so great to see all of you this morning. Doesn't it feel good to be out and about and here in person for this momentous occasion? We're here at Houghton Park, and I have to just tell you a bit about Houghton Park. I mean, it's a great park. It's got, you know, this community center is almost 100 years old. 1925 is when that center was built and when this place became a park. And since then, there's been different iterations of investment. It's sort of gone up and it's gone down. But I think we're in a moment here, here in Uptown Long Beach, particularly Houghton Park, where we just opened the Doris Topsy Overt Community Center, which is a beautiful, iconic space. You know, today we're opening the Ronald Arias Health Equity Center, and we'll talk a bit about health equity. And, you know, the building is one thing, but it's what's happening inside the building that's particularly special. We're going to rebuild that playground. I encourage you to walk around the park and see the new murals, the Uptown Renaissance mural, Uptown Arts and Culture mural, right next door. And let's hear it from Megan Kerr, right next door, $125 million, $150 million investment at Jordan High School. Thank you. Outstanding. We have some talking points. You know, I wasn't that far off. Great. And, you know, so we've got work happening at Jordan High School. Public Works is doing an incredible job. We've got a $26 million Artesia Boulevard project happening, the Michelle Obama Neighborhood Library, the DeForest Park Wetlands, 40 acres of open space, and under construction right now an environmental education center at DeForest Park. We have a little pep in our step in Uptown right now, right? So let's talk about the center for a moment. I mentioned earlier, you know, it's great that we were able to identify the resources to finally invest in this center, which has a tremendous history. You know, the federal government began to build these things in cities back in the 60s, right? But local government has taken on more responsibilities, and so we took on this building, and now it has a brand new life. And within this facility, you're going to see clinical services, including HIV support, family planning, and immunizations right inside here. It's a great clinic. You'll see it. The fundamentals of, that's right, they're going to be clapping a lot. It's a lot of things going into this building. The fundamentals of fatherhood program, so the father-friendly program is going to be anchored right here for fathers. Family preservation services are going to be here. Re-entry employment services. Where's Pacific Gateway? Let's hear it from Pacific Gateway. There they are. They're here in Houghton Park now. Let's see, reentry, social support, mental health support. The new Office of Youth Development, driven by Measure US, is right here, which grown out of our My Brother's Keeper initiative. Human Dignity Program is here. The Black Health Equity Program is here. My Sister's Keeper Program is here. Safe Passages Program is here. Long Beach Activating Safe Communities, that's our violence prevention plan, anchored right here. Housing and rental assistance, anchored right here. Let's hear it for the services that were not here before and now are here in our community. And you'll hear from someone that was really engaged in some of the youth work in a moment. Why is it important that we bring services where the people are? In North Long Beach, there are 5 or 6 city halls closer to us than our own. And so in many ways, Houghton Park is sort of our City Hall North. Now you can come here and engage the programs and the services that the city has put forward to be accessible for the people. Youth and senior services there, sort of workforce and health services here. And, you know, and we're talking about more things that we can bring to this park so that it's just a bit more accessible in our community. But why do we call it the Ron Arias Health Equity Center? I believe in placemaking. A city, you know, I say this a lot, a city isn't made up of buildings or statistics or reputations, it's made up of people. And when the people are hurting, the community hurts. When the people are thriving, the community thrives. I think it's important for people to be able to identify with the figures that we recognize in our communities. Here at Houghton Park, you know, Colonel Sherman Otis Houghton, you know, his family dedicated this land to the park more than 100 years ago, to the city. And we certainly maintain that name of that park. But our community has grown, and it's developed, and it's thriving. We need to make sure that our landmarks reflect the people who live in our communities. And right here at Houghton Park, we're proud that the city's Latino health director that made some of the first investments in North Long Beach through the Healthy Eating Active Living, the Heal Zone program, back when Steve Neal was in office, they worked together and brought some of the initial investments that set the stage for the Uptown Renaissance. This thing's really wearing me. Set the stage for the Uptown Renaissance. And when I'm talking about the type of leader Ron was, Ron would invest in the next generation. He would come in, I was at City Hall, and I'll tell you, there's a lot to figure out. I was a 26-year-old chief of staff and didn't know a lot, didn't know a whole lot at the time. And he would say, keep at it, keep working at it, right? I poached his staff member, Shauna Stevens, to become my chief of staff to become my chief of staff when I ran for council. And so he's had an impact. People have no idea how much of an impact Ron Arias has had on the Uptown community. And for that reason, I was honored to move forward and say, right next to the iconic Doris Topsy Elvert Center is now the Ron Arias Health Equity Center right here in the heart of Uptown Long Beach. So let's hear it one more time for Ronald Arias. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll pass it back to Kelly Colopy.
I just have to lower it. It's all the tall people around me. So thank you, Vice Mayor. So while the work that takes place in the center is provided by the Health Department, we wouldn't have this beautiful, welcoming, and trauma-informed space if it were not for our partners in Public Works. So I'd like to invite Eric Lopez, our Public Works Director, to come and tell us a little bit about the work of his department and some of the features of the building. Eric?
Thank you, Kelly. Good morning, everybody. I'm a tall person too, so had to readjust the microphone. My name is Eric Lopez. I am your Director of Public Works, and I serve in this position with pride, and because I get the opportunity to work with wonderful people, wonderful staff, and to help build facilities like these. So thank you for that opportunity and that privilege. I'm especially grateful that I get to be part of the ceremony to name this facility after Ron Arias. When I first joined the city, I actually had the opportunity to work one-on-one with Ron as a management assistant, and I learned a lot. And Ron was never shy to share information. So for that, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. I'm part of your legacy. The Department of Public Works led the design and the renovation of this modern facility. We benefited from Measure A. Thank you all for passing Measure A. We benefited from state funds, AB 32, the California Global Warming Solutions Act, and general capital funds, back when we had general capital funds. In total, we've invested $5 million into this facility, and I hope every one of you gets to tour the site and see the inside. It is a beautiful and wonderful and inviting facility that we have helped create. This project not only included tenant improvements and energy efficiency upgrades, we also redid the roof. We redid the HVAC system, modernized the lighting systems, and really made sure that we carefully planned out the layout so that it would be inviting and dynamic for our many community members that are going to benefit from this. I want to thank the Vice Mayor, our City Manager, our Director, Kelly Calopy, and all of the staff that have allowed this project to be possible. We do the fun part, we get to build it, but it's all the energy, all the support that comes before we start construction that really makes projects like this possible. So lastly, I want to acknowledge the contractor, Harry Joe Construction, and our project team, including our Project Management Bureau Manager, Marilyn Sarakas, our Project Management Officer, Tony Resendez, and all of our construction management staff that helped make this a reality. So thank you all. And I'd like to call Director Kelly back.
Thanks, Eric. What a great overview of the many features that we have now in this center. So Health and Human Services has been operating out of this building providing strengthening families and fatherhood services to the community. A few years ago, it reached the point where the HVAC was no longer working and couldn't be fixed. So you could come in and the staff, they were here every day with hats on, mittens, heaters, just to make sure that they were providing services. In the summer, there were fans everywhere trying to keep people cool enough so that they could operate. So we had gotten to the point where we thought, this place is not inviting anymore, right? It's like, this is not the space that people want to be. And so, we really felt like it had lost its welcomeness. So we had to make a decision about our next steps. And we knew it was essential to maintain and grow services in North Long Beach. We also knew that we needed clinical services, which we did not have here. So in partnership with Public Works, we advocated for the resources to bring the building back to life, to what it is now. This is truly an incredible moment. The design is so closely linked to the mission of the space. Everything down to the interior color scheme was created to provide a trauma-informed, safe space for those who visit. I'd like to give a big shout out to Ana Lopez, our Community Impact Division Manager, and Teresa Gomez, our Human Dignity Coordinator, because they really led the design in partnership with Public Works and the health teams. What you see inside is largely from their vision. So I just want you all to know, they were just amazing in this process. But I do want to talk about what we do in this space every day as important work happens. All the programming at this center is family-centered and focused on multi-generational approach to uplift families and strengthen our social and economic mobility. These programs and initiatives are geared towards increasing peace and unity and strengthening family protective factors. While the Vice Mayor already told you everything that was in here, I'm going to tell you again what is coming in here. We have family services, including family preservation and the fundamentals of fatherhood, violence prevention work, such as the Long Beach Advancing Peace and our Long Beach Activating Safe Communities. Our new Office of Youth Development is located here. We have efforts to end human trafficking. We're providing housing and rental assistance, which is made possible by development services. We also opened a new health clinic to increase access to family planning, HIV and STD prevention, testing and treatment, TB clinical services, and immunizations for North Long Beach. Other important services include our reentry employment services in partnership with Pacific Gateway, the Workforce Investment Network, as well as social supports and mental health supports offered by the Health Department. The Health Equity Center enables residents to access services more easily and demonstrates the city's commitment to equity by acknowledging the impact of structural racism on North Long Beach and bringing those services directly into communities with higher levels of poverty, chronic health conditions, and housing insecurity. We also acknowledge the strength and resilience of the community members in North Long Beach and look forward to utilizing our Health Equity Center to strengthen our partnerships and to create more positive opportunity and impact across North Long Beach. As previously mentioned, the Office of Youth Development is based out of the Ronald R. Arias Health Equity Center, and we're happy to have a youth leader say a few words with us today. Abraham Guidino Manzo first got involved in leadership through My Brother's Keeper and is now a youth ambassador for the city of Long Beach. He helped design the Long Beach Youth and Emerging Adults. Come on up. Come on up. Come stand. He helped design the Long Beach Youth and Emerging Adult Strategic Plan, and he now volunteers with our Office of Youth Development on the implementation of that plan. So with that, I want to welcome Abraham.
Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new Equity Center. I'm here to speak on behalf of my youth, so I'm going to begin. I want to thank God first for giving me this opportunity to speak, and I want to thank the city's health department as well, because without them, I wouldn't be here right now. I come from a neighborhood where it's easy to get into gang affiliation and gang activities like drugs or violence. I had lost friends and family who fell under the pressure of gangs and are not gang affiliates. Some incarcerated, some deported, some dead because of violence or drugs. I was able to change my life around thanks to resourceful programs like My Brother's Keeper. I was involved in My Brother's Keeper in 2017 and then continued my journey in 2019 with the Youth Ambassadors. With the Youth Ambassadors, we constructed the Youth Strategic Plan, which is brought forward thanks to the community engagement of the Advancing Youth Coalition. Alongside 17 other youth ambassadors, we went all around the city collecting data and crafted the 6 goals of the plan, which include youth development, youth health, youth futures, youth community care, housing and transportation. It's a 5-year plan that youth throughout Long Beach will help implement alongside the Office of Youth Development. Now that we have a plan, let us as a community become leaders of youth engagement. throughout the city and have a voice of the issues affecting youth in Long Beach. One way we are engaging youth is to establish a youth advisory council. We want our youth to have a better future and to recognize that the city is a great one full of community participation and activism that will cause change throughout the city. And the Ronald R Health Equity Center will serve as a community impact hub for Long Beach. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Abraham. Abraham's been a huge supporter of our work. He's been just about everywhere we are around the youth development process, so thank you very much. So next I'd like to welcome Teresa Marino. She's the former Community Health Bureau Manager for the Health Department. She'll provide the introduction for Ron Arias. Teresa's been here. She's been just a strong stand for public health for many, many years. And she was key to welcoming me to Long Beach. Although she was already retired, she made sure she was there welcoming me the minute I walked in the door and has been a huge supporter throughout. So with that, Teresa, welcome to the podium.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this beautiful day. It's a beautiful Long Beach spring day. I'm the warm act. I'm like when you go to the concert and they go, "Who's that band?" I don't know who those people are. But I get to tell you about Ron. I get to tell you about my friend of more than 50 years. He and Phyllis are my dear friends. I get to tell you about some of the peers and wonderful friends that we have, that all of us, like Carmen Perez is here today. Carmen has been our mentor. She has been our leader. She has been with us all these years. I know it's his day, but Carmen's here, and we have to acknowledge she is one of our leaders. Also, there were others that were here with us at the time to grow up in Long Beach and become leaders in Long Beach. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how it was for Ron and how we were. One of the persons that made a big impact on all of our lives and on Ron's life was Bill Barnes. Bill isn't here with us anymore, but I wanted to acknowledge him because he played a big role in our maturing and growing up, and he also was on the Board of Health for many years and guided the health department. So I wanted to give a shout out to Bill. This building behind us was called a facility center. The facility centers were built in the late 60s, early 70s. I acknowledge Carmen because Carmen actually worked here under Council Member Russ Rubley back in the 70s. The facility centers were in 4 areas of town. Martin Luther King Park, West Side had one in Drake Park, North Side had it here, and the Senior Center on 4th Street was also considered part of the facility center buildings. They were funded with community development block grant money, which came in during the late 60s and 70s as part of the War on Poverty programs. So what was interesting is when Ron and I were both bureau managers, the facility centers were under our purview. Ron was also on the Community Development Block Grant Committee, an advisory committee back in the 70s. So how am I going to, in 5 minutes, compress more than 50 years of a community service, public administration, equity, diversity, and inclusion that formed Ron, and who is Ron today? Well, one, I want to just acknowledge the folks that are here. If you're part of Ron's family, can you raise your hand? All right. If you were part of going to school with Ron at the Cal State Long Beach, or if you were part of the East Long Beach Neighborhood Center, Centro de la Raza, raise your hand. If you were a coworker, a colleague, a city department manager, or if you were someone who was mentored by Ron? Raise your hand. So as you can see, we've got a lot of folks here today that want to hear and know that Ron is the reason we're here. Ron came from humble roots in San Bernardino. He has 5 brothers, and later his sister Marie was born. The family moved to Palm Springs because his mother did not want them in the area of Mount Vernon where there was gang infestation. So they moved to Palm Springs. Ron's family then moved back to San Bernardino, but Ron stayed and lived with Martine Henry's family. He and Martine were best friends. They went to Palm Springs High School and College of the Desert. It was there that he met the love of his life, Phyllis Ortega. Phyllis and Ron were married in 1971 and celebrated 50 years. 50 years this past year. So then Ron transferred to Cal State Long Beach. At Cal State Long Beach, he got involved in the Chicano students, as a Chicano student with the Associate Student Body Senate. It was here that became the defining time because of the time. You hear about people saying, oh, well, the Depression formed the greatest generation. World War II formed the greatest generation. Baby boomers were influenced by civil rights, war on poverty and all of its programs, the Vietnam War, the student protests, the student movements, ethnic studies, EOP work study and all. Ron was involved in these, and Ron was part of a group of us who were here that went to the East Long Beach Neighborhood Center, Centro de la Raza. And it was there that we learned to write grants. It was there that we learned to organize, we learned advocacy, we learned public speaking, and we learned to negotiate and to compromise. So Ron's been a leader from that time on. He got his master's in public health from USC. He was always our hero. He was the first Latino to be hired by the American, in corporate, by the American Lung Association. What he learned there, he brought back to Long Beach when he was hired in 1990 as a bureau manager. As a bureau manager, he was over the tobacco education program, which helped to create the ordinance here in Long Beach, which was the strongest no smoking ordinance in the United States. Ron is so proud of that. That is one of his greatest achievements. He brought health fairs back to the community. That was part of equity, because at a health fair, you could get health services that you didn't have if you didn't have insurance. He also, in 1992, when we had the riots here, the Rodney King riots in Long Beach, there were 300 fires here in Long Beach. Ron heard that there was money for the community health councils. He actually was able to be at the table and bring community health council work here to Long Beach. And I know that Elisa Nicholas is here and knows very well how important those community health councils were. This was all part of equity. One of Ron's one of his mottos is, be at the table if you want a piece of the pie. And he still does that. So in 2000, he became the director, and he inherited a $30 million department, which over his 12 years as director, he left with a budget of $115 million and many services. Ron, second greatest public health accomplishment was the Miller Family Health Education Center, a repurposed old Kaiser Clinic. Again, Ron saw that as equity because he made sure that all the health education programs were under one roof, and it had the Interpretation Center for Languages. Ron learned this when he was with the Poly High School multicultural family dialogues back in the 70s and 80s. Ron retired in 2012. He accomplished a lot in his 22 years. He still mentors. He's still volunteering. He's serving on boards at the Miller Foundation, Rancho Los Cerritos, and Centro Cha Latino Cultural Center Advisory. Centro Cha is the program that most of us are involved with now because of our involvement with the first Centro. In 2013, Ron was diagnosed with acute leukemia. He survived that. We want to thank his God bless and thank you his brother Kenny, because he was the match. We're here to honor Ron. We're here to acknowledge all that he's done. And we want to thank him and Phyllis for their love of their family, their son Sergio, Mia, and their two grandsons who are here today, Diego and Noah. They still live up in Uptown, Bixby Knolls, and they always open their home up to all of us friends and organizations. Thank you so much. Ron R is my friend, my boss.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Boy, what a night. What a day. What are the words, Phyllis? Stick to the script. Stick to the script. You know, married men live longer than non-married men. It's about their wives. And believe me, Rich and I know that very, very well. I can see Frank out there. He knows. Thank you, Teresa, for that very, very nice introduction. And thank you, Vice Mayor Rex Richardson, for this incredible honor. I am humbled and honored to have such a great recognition bestowed upon me and the work of the Long Beach Public Health Department. 53 years ago, I moved to Long Beach to attend Long Beach State. At the time, I thought I wanted to be a coach. I enrolled in the physical education, kinesiology department, and began my journey. At Long Beach State, I met other Chicano students who had similar dreams and, like me, were the first in their families to attend college. We formed UMAS, United Mexican American Students, later to become MECHA. Our goals were simple. We wanted social, economic, and political equity. There were only about 500 Mexican American students enrolled at Long Beach State, which at the time had over 27,000 students. We began to organize and educate ourselves on university policies and how the college worked. Most of us were EOP students, and we were required to work with other Black, Asian, and Native American EOP students through intergroup relations. Quite a very interesting organization that we had back then, intergroup relations. We need it today. And that's where I met and worked with Earl Parker, Willie Elston, Dan Bomberry, and Roger Ironcloud. These were all EOP students, and they were all from different parts of the state, but we worked together. Roger and Dan were Native Americans, and of course, Earl and Willie were BSU, the Black Students Union, taking care of business. That was their motto. In 1970, we were the first students of color to organize and run a third world slate to take over the Associated Student Body Government. Think about that. We had never participated in ASB, and that's where the money was. And we tried, we went through there, we put in our petitions, and we never got any money for our events. That year we won half of the seats and opened the door for future leaders like Jenny Oropesa and Robert Garcia, who were both elected ASB presidents at Long Beach State. We were truly a minority population, and we were committed and dedicated towards making social change on campus and in the community. Soon after black students created the African American Studies Department, we followed suit by creating one of the first Chicano Studies departments in the CSU system. One of the best, by the way, and it's still there. We worked tirelessly to increase our numbers at Long Beach State. I was an EOP recruiter. My compa Billy Bosques was an EOP recruiter. We went out to high schools, to junior colleges, trying to get young Chicanos who didn't think they had a chance to participate at a four-year university institution, but they did. And we brought them in, and boy, did they changed the world. It was truly an amazing time to be on campus, and as I look back, I think we did a pretty good job. These experiences stayed with me my entire professional career and formed my personal philosophy to work towards change and to improve conditions in our communities of color. My first job, as Teresa mentioned, was in 1971, was at the East Long Beach Neighborhood Center, Centro de la Raza. Right here in Anaheim and Junipero. It was an old theater. For those of you that grew up in Long Beach, you remember it well. I was hired as the housing coordinator. Did you hear, Kelly? They're going to have housing services in here. I helped people get rentals, and we helped tenants who were having problems in their apartments. Some things just never change. No hot water, broken windows, and rodent infested. As housing coordinator, I called city departments of code enforcement, the housing authority, community development, and planning and building, but none of these departments had any responsibility for correcting these issues. Someone told me, call the health department, and that's when I connected with the health department's housing inspection program. They asked me for the addresses of these failing units, and to my surprise, they got it fixed, and they did it quickly. I was so impressed. This is really one of the reasons I wanted a career in public health. In 1990, Dr. Diana Bonta hired me as Bureau Manager for Public Health. Thank you, Diana. Changed my life. I was commuting just about to where they lived, Diana and Frank, and I was working here in Long Beach and commuting to mid-Wilshire, and she brought me home. In 2000, then City Manager Henry Taboada hired me as the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services. Henry called me this morning, and he didn't think he was going to be able to make it. Okay, there he is, brother. And thank you, Henry. You hired me twice. You hired me in the Office of Affirmative Action, and then you hired me as director. The second was much better. To become director of the health department was my dream job. My philosophy at the department was to run it like a team, to help each person working at the department to understand their role was critical to our overall success of our department. I often reminded our staff that we should serve our clients as if they were family. At the time, 70% of our staff lived in Long Beach, and we were the most ethnically diverse department in the city. We looked like the city population we served, and we wanted to create positive change. Me and my senior management team, like Michael Johnson, Nettie DeAugustine, Teresa Marino, Nancy Lewis, and Dr. Daryl Sexton, we gave our staff leeway to try new things to improve their programs. Our staff went after grants from government and private foundations and grew the department. We created community collaborations that helped us grow and better serve targeted communities. Our work here in North Long Beach was a team collaborative effort. The needs in North Long Beach were great, and they continue to be. What we did was a result of many young leaders like Lori Grushka, Shauna Herrera-Stevens, Rosie Velasquez, and Judy Ogunji. All of these key public health professionals worked in North Long Beach for about 15 to 20 years. and they all work tirelessly to make a lasting impact in this community. Today, when I look up and see my name on this building, I can only thank all of the people and amazing colleagues who worked with me at the health department. Thank you. This building is our building. And thanks again, Rex. Of course, none of this would have happened for me without my amazing wife, Phyllis, my children, Sergio and Mia, and now my two grandsons who are falling asleep, Diego and Noah. I want to thank my family for always standing by my side and supporting me in all of my efforts and ventures. I also want to thank my community partners, because you don't get anything done without having partners and collaborating with people in this community. I want to acknowledge and thank the Children's Clinic Director, Dr. Elisa Nicholas. I want to thank Walt Flory at the Miller Foundation, now retired, now headed up by Derek Simpson. And my political colleagues and mentors and friends. You heard about the great Carmen Perez. She's been by my side for all of these 50 years. Armando Vázquez Ramos, the executive director of the Centro at the time. Toña and Roberto Uranga. Senator Richard Polanco. Jessica Quintana, who has picked up the banner and is now she's the mera mera as executive director of Centro Cha. Henry Taboada, my boss but friend, always standing by our side. Bill Barnes, who's no longer with us, his wife is here, but Bill was very instrumental in helping us. And again, Bill he brought people together, African American, Chicano, Asian, and we started to understand the whole necessity of cultural pluralism. We were nationalistic when we were students. We wanted to raise our flag. But we realized that, you know what, our flags were very similar and that we needed to work together in order to get it done. I also want to acknowledge Bill Vasquez and Teresa Marino, people that have been with me for many, many, many years. We have all been working. Well, that's my punchline. Somebody up there likes me. We have all been working on social, economic, and political equity in Long Beach for over 50 years. And I want to thank everyone for attending today's event. Thank you so much. And thank you, Rex.
We just received a master class, folks, from a living legend right here, Ron Arias. On behalf of the city of Long Beach, we recognize this momentous date. The Ron Arias Health Equity Center is now open.
Thank you, man. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Hey, appreciate it very much.
This is great.
Yeah, it was good. Good.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead. Do what you want.
All right, hold on, everybody. So, first of all, we are going to be doing tours. So the tours, we're going to be allowing 10 people in at a time. So you will have many tour guides. We also need to recognize that this is a public health care facility, which means you must mask. So we have masks at the door if you don't have one with you, but we invite you all to come in and then to head